Introduction: The Journey to Inner Peace. Have you ever felt like you're carrying the weight of your entire life on your shoulders and no one even notices? You smile in public, but when you're alone, the silence becomes deafening. You're not broken, you're just tired of holding on to memories that hurt, to expectations that suffocate, to stories you've told yourself for so long. You no longer know who you really are. And maybe, just maybe, that's why you're here. You see, Buddhism doesn't ask you to escape life. It teaches you how to live it with open hands, not clenched fists. It whispers a truth most of us forget in the chaos. Letting go isn't weakness. Letting go is freedom. But here's the paradox. No one tells you letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means finally making space for peace to enter. Real peace. The kind that doesn't depend on perfect conditions. The kind that remains even when everything around you falls apart. You don't need to move to the mountains or sit in silence for 10 hours a day. You just need one thing: a shift in how you see the world and yourself. In this video, we'll walk together through the gentle wisdom of Buddhist philosophy, not as a religion, but as a guide for the soul. I'll show you how ancient teachings born in stillness can transform the chaos of modern life. You'll learn how to release emotional baggage without losing your heart, how to let go of control without losing yourself, and how to stop chasing happiness and start living from peace. But before we begin, ask yourself this: what would your life look like if peace was no longer a future destination but your starting point? Let's begin. Part 1. The Art of Detachment. Have you ever loved something so deeply that the thought of losing it makes your chest tighten? Maybe it's a person, a dream, a memory you wish could last forever. I once heard a Buddhist monk hold up a glass and say, "This glass is already broken." At first, it sounded strange. The glass was perfectly fine, shining in the sunlight, not a crack on it. But then he smiled and said, "I drink from it. I enjoy it. I care for it. But one day, the wind may knock it over, and it will shatter. So I love it as if it's already broken. And in that, I am free." That changed everything for me. You see, suffering doesn't come from love itself. It comes from the clinging, from trying to make something permanent in a world where nothing is. We cling to people, hoping they'll never leave. We cling to status, praying it won't fade. We cling to the past, even when it's too heavy to carry. And yet, nothing, not even our own breath, was meant to stay. This is the art of detachment. Not to stop loving, but to love without owning, to hold lightly what you care about deeply. It's like watching a river flow. You don't try to grab the water. You simply stand there, feet in the current, and feel it all: the cold, the pull, the passing. You let the river be a river. But here's the paradox. The more we let go, the more peace we find. Because peace isn't found in holding tighter. It's found in releasing what was never ours to begin with. And detachment doesn't mean apathy. It's not about building walls or closing your heart. It's about being fully present, right here, right now, without needing life to promise you anything in return. You can still love your partner deeply and know that they are their own soul, not yours to control. You can pursue your dreams fiercely and still be at peace if life redirects you. You can hold your child in your arms and recognize they too are a river. Everything flows, everything shifts. And that's not a tragedy, it's the beauty of being alive. So, the next time you're afraid of losing something, ask yourself, what if it was already broken? Would you love it more gently? Would you treasure this moment a little more? Because the truth is, the glass is always already broken. And that's what makes its sparkle so precious. Let it go. Not because it doesn't matter, but because it does. Part 2. Radical Acceptance. Have you ever tried to fight reality? Like you're standing in the middle of a storm, screaming for the rain to stop, but it keeps pouring anyway. There's a deep, hidden suffering in that resistance. Not because of the storm itself, but because you believed it shouldn't be raining. That's what radical acceptance teaches us. Let me tell you a story about a seasoned archer. He was once praised as the best in his village, striking bullseyes from incredible distances. But one day, during an important tournament, a sudden gust of wind threw off his arrow. It missed. The crowd murmured. His hands trembled. He was furious. Not at himself, but at the wind. He kept firing arrow after arrow, trying to overpower the elements, but the wind didn't care. It kept blowing. He lost that day. Not because he lacked skill, but because he couldn't accept what was beyond his control. Years later, he learned a different way. When the wind came, he paused, breathed, adjusted his aim, and released, not with force, but with presence. That time, the arrow hit dead center. He didn't fight the wind, he moved with it. That's the heart of radical acceptance. In Buddhism, suffering arises not just from pain, but from our refusal to feel it. We think, this shouldn't be happening to me. This isn't fair. This isn't how life is supposed to go. But here's the truth. Life never promised certainty. It never guaranteed comfort. The pain comes, and we pile more pain on top by resisting it. What if, instead, we leaned in? What if, when life knocked us off balance, we paused not to react, but to observe? To ask not, why me? But, what is life trying to teach me through this? This shift doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean accepting abuse, injustice, or staying silent when something's wrong. Radical acceptance is not passive. It's powerful. It's the moment you say, this is what's happening. I may not like it, but I will meet it fully. And when you do, something extraordinary happens. Your mind clears. The mental fog of denial, of rage, of fear, it lifts. And what's left is clarity, wisdom, space to act wisely instead of react blindly. I've seen people discover this in the most unexpected places. A woman who lost her job spiraled into despair. She spent weeks asking, why now? Why me? Her body grew heavy with stress, her nights restless. But one morning, she whispered something different. This is where I am. Not with bitterness, but with breath. And from that place, she began again, reached out, recalibrated, grew stronger. Because suffering met with resistance turns into a wall. But suffering met with acceptance, it becomes a doorway. So if you're in the middle of something hard right now, a loss, a betrayal, a diagnosis, a heartbreak, try this. Breathe. Say to yourself softly, gently, this is what's happening now. Not forever, not who you are, just what is. And from there, ask the question that transforms pain into wisdom. What can I learn from this? Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's surrender. Maybe it's the quiet strength you forgot you had. Because life doesn't always give us what we want, but it often gives us exactly what we need to wake up. And sometimes, peace doesn't come from fixing everything. It comes from no longer needing to. Part 3. Trust in life, the wisdom of letting go. There's an old story from ancient China I often come back to. A farmer's horse ran away. His neighbors rushed over. What bad luck, they said. He simply replied, maybe. A few days later, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses. The neighbors were amazed. What good fortune! Again, the farmer said, maybe. Then, his son tried to ride one of the wild horses, fell, and broke his leg. "Oh no, how terrible!" the neighbors cried. The farmer only said, "Maybe." Soon after, soldiers came to the village to take all the young men to war. But his son was spared, his leg was broken. And again, the neighbors came, silent this time. This simple tale holds one of the deepest truths in Buddhist wisdom. We don't really know what anything means, not yet. Not when it happens, not when we rush to judge. But we do it anyway, don't we? Something doesn't go the way we planned. We panic. We grieve. We feel cursed, as if life is punishing us. But the truth is, life isn't punishing you. It's redirecting you. From the limited lens of the moment, we often can't see the full picture. We label things as good or bad, but we forget. The story isn't over yet. What if that breakup wasn't the end, but the beginning of meeting someone who truly sees you? What if the lost job was clearing space for the work your soul came here to do? What if what looks like chaos is simply your path being rearranged for something greater? We all want certainty. We want things to happen now, the way we want, when we want. But life doesn't bloom under pressure. Just like the butterfly in its cocoon, if you try to help it break free too early, you harm it. Its wings won't form. It won't survive. The same is true for us. There is a timing to everything, a divine rhythm that unfolds beyond our control. So the question is not, why is this happening to me? The deeper question is, can I trust what's unfolding, even when I don't understand it yet? Not blind trust, but the kind of trust rooted in presence that whispers, I don't need all the answers right now. I just need to be here. It doesn't mean we give up or become passive. It means we stop fighting what is and start listening for what it's teaching. When we loosen our grip, something powerful happens. Our suffering softens. Our hearts open. We begin to sense that maybe, just maybe, life is on our side, even when it doesn't look that way. So if you're in a season of loss, confusion, or waiting, pause, breathe, look again. This moment may not be the end. It might just be the turning point. And when your mind rushes to label what's happening, remember the farmer and simply say, maybe. Part 4. Meditation, the doorway to inner peace. Let me tell you a little story. Imagine you're holding a glass of water, muddy, cloudy, swirling with dirt. If you keep shaking it, the water never clears. But if you set it down and simply let it be, slowly the dirt settles. The water becomes still, clear, calm. That's your mind. Most of us live in a constant state of shaking the chaos of thoughts, the noise of worry, regret, overthinking. We try to force ourselves to feel better, to push the stress away, to silence the mind by shouting over it. But what if peace isn't something you chase? What if it comes when you stop chasing? This is the gift of meditation. You see, a common misconception is that meditation is about stopping your thoughts, as if you're supposed to sit cross-legged and have a perfectly silent mind. But the truth? That's not the goal. Meditation is not about stopping your thoughts. It's about noticing them without judgment. It's about sitting with your muddy glass of water and letting it settle naturally. When you meditate, you create space between you and your thoughts, space between your reactions and your awareness. And in that space, something miraculous happens. You begin to see. You see how thoughts come and go. You see how emotions rise and fall. You see how nothing stays, not joy, not sorrow, not even the storm in your mind. And when you truly see this, something softens. Something lets go. Because now You're no longer drowning in your mind. You're observing it, like sitting on the riverbank, watching the current flow by. Even science agrees. Studies show that meditation reduces stress, lowers anxiety, improves sleep, and increases focus. But beyond all the data, there's something deeper, something ancient, something the Buddha understood over 2,500 years ago. That stillness is a doorway to your true self. So how do you begin? You don't need hours. You don't need incense or mantras or mountaintops. You can start right here, right now. Close your eyes, take a breath. Just notice the rise and fall of your chest, the temperature of the air, the rhythm of your breath. That's mindfulness. If you feel overwhelmed, try breath meditation, one breath at a time. In, out, that's it. If your heart feels heavy, try gratitude meditation. Whisper softly to yourself, "Thank you for this moment, for this breath." And if your soul needs release, try letting go meditation. Visualize the thoughts you cling to, your fears, your regrets, and imagine setting them down, one by one, like stones from your backpack. You're not trying to become someone else. You're remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. The truth is, peace doesn't come from the outside. It's not waiting at the end of a vacation, a relationship, or a paycheck. It's within you. Always has been. You just forgot how to sit still. So the next time life feels overwhelming, don't run. Don't resist. Be the person who gently sets the glass down and waits. Because when the mind settles, clarity returns. And in that clarity, you'll rediscover something more precious than peace itself. Presence. Part 5. Letting go of control, flowing with life. Have you ever felt like your whole world would collapse if you let go just for a moment? There's a story in Buddhism that speaks right to the heart of this fear. A man is hanging from a branch, high above the ground. He's terrified. Below him, he sees nothing but darkness, and he clings to the branch with every ounce of strength he has left. He cries for help. He prays for a miracle. And then, from the silence, a voice whispers, "Let go." But he doesn't. He holds on tighter. Eventually, his hands give in. His body falls. And he lands safely on solid ground, just a few feet below him. That's how most of us live. Clinging tightly to what we know, to what we think we can control, to people, to outcomes, to plans we've written in our heads 1,000 times. But life flows like a river. It moves whether we're ready or not. And the more we try to dam it up to hold it still, to make it perfect, the more we suffer. Maybe you're in a season where things feel uncertain. You don't know what's coming next. You're trying so hard to keep everything in place, your job, your relationships, your future. And yet, the tighter you hold on, the more exhausted you become. Here's the truth Buddhism gently reveals. We are not here to control life. We are here to flow with it. This doesn't mean we stop trying. It doesn't mean we give up or become passive. It means we take action from a different place. Not from fear, but from trust. Not from anxiety, but from clarity. Not because we're desperate to control the outcome, but because we're simply called to show up fully right now. Think about a child playing. They run. They jump. They build sandcastles only to watch them wash away. But they do it all from joy, not from a need to win. And that's how we were meant to live. Not every moment has to be optimized. Not every move has to be calculated. Not every chapter has to go exactly as planned. Some of the most beautiful parts of life happen when we stop trying so hard. I know letting go can feel terrifying. It can feel like free falling into the unknown. But what if you're not falling at all? What if just like that man on the branch, you're only inches from solid ground? What if peace has been waiting for you, not in your grip, but in your release? Let go. Let life meet you where you are. Let the river carry you not away from your truth, but toward it. You don't have to force your way through. You don't have to hold it all together. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to trust. You are allowed to let go. Part 6. Compassion for yourself and others. He sat alone in the park, shoulders hunched, eyes cast down. You could tell he was carrying something heavy. And when I sat beside him, he whispered, I keep replaying that moment. The one I didn't stop. The one I didn't fix. The one I can't forgive myself for. He looked up and said something I'll never forget. Guilt is the stone. Compassion is the wind. That sentence changed everything for me. Because most people think compassion is just kindness, a soft feeling, a gentle gesture. But they forget compassion is also a force, a movement, a wind that lifts us when we are buried under the weight of our own guilt. Let's be honest. We're often kinder to strangers than we are to ourselves. We beat ourselves up for mistakes from years ago. We say things to ourselves, you're not enough. You should have known better. You're broken. That we would never say to a friend. And yet, we expect healing to happen in that kind of environment? The Buddha understood this deeply. That's why he didn't just teach about wisdom. He taught about metta, or loving kindness. It's a form of meditation, but more than that, it's a training of the heart. A daily practice of sending goodwill not just outward, but inward, toward ourselves. Because without compassion for yourself, you can't truly offer it to anyone else. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman, mid-30s, successful, respected, but every night she'd lie awake, replaying a choice she made in her 20s. A broken friendship, a door she didn't open, a phone call she never returned. For years, she thought if she punished herself enough, she could balance the karmic scales. But guilt didn't bring balance. It brought suffering. Only when she learned to say to herself, you were doing your best with what you knew, did the healing begin. That's not weakness. That's courage. To meet your shadow not with a sword, but with a soft light. Now, let's talk about forgiving others. Because compassion also stretches outward. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean saying, what you did was okay. It means saying, I'm done carrying the pain. You see, resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. You end up burning from the inside out. But compassion cools the fire. It doesn't make you a doormat, it makes you free. Metta Bhavana is a beautiful way to begin. You start by visualizing yourself, sitting peacefully. You send these words inward. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be free from suffering. Then you picture someone you love. Then someone you feel neutral about. Then someone you struggle with. And finally, the whole world. You say the same wishes to all, not because they've earned it, but because you deserve the peace that comes from letting go. So if you're carrying guilt today, if you're holding someone else's betrayal like a blade to your own heart, remember this. Guilt is the stone, but compassion is the wind. It lifts, it softens, it moves us forward. You don't need to stay stuck in the memory. You can move through it with kindness, with patience, with a deep knowing that you are not your past. You are the awareness that's watching, the space that can choose a new response, the heart that can open again and again despite everything. Pause. If this touched something inside you, take a moment to breathe. Place a hand over your heart. Say this softly. I forgive myself. I forgive the parts of me that didn't know better. I send love to the parts of me that are still healing. This is how the healing begins, not with judgment, but with compassion. Let the wind carry you, not back into the past, but toward a future shaped by softness, wisdom, and a heart that's finally free. Part 7. Applying to everyday life. Living the teachings. Have you ever noticed how the most profound changes in life rarely come from one grand moment, but from a quiet decision made again and again, every single day? That's how it was for Sarah. She wasn't trying to become enlightened. She was just trying to breathe again, after a year of burnout, a broken relationship, and an overwhelming sense that something inside her was unraveling. She used to think healing would come in some big wave, like a retreat, a realization, a breakthrough. But what she discovered, slowly and gently, was something far more powerful. Real transformation happens in the small, silent choices. It began when she sat down one morning and asked herself a simple question: am I holding on because of love or because of fear? That one question shifted something in her. She realized she had been clinging to people, plans, and even pain not out of love, but because she was afraid to let go, afraid of being alone, afraid of the unknown, afraid that if she didn't control everything, life would fall apart. And so, her practice became one of gentle release. Not letting go with anger or coldness, but with presence, with trust, with breath. Each day, she would remind herself, I don't have to fix everything today. I just have to be kind to myself in this moment. Some mornings, that meant sitting in silence for 5 minutes, even if her thoughts were racing, just breathing. Other days, it meant noticing when she was resisting life, when she wished her partner would change, or her job would be different, and instead, leaning into acceptance. Not passive resignation, but the deep kind of acceptance that says, this is what is. I meet it with clarity. And that became her compass. Whenever she felt overwhelmed, she would pause and ask, what would compassion look like right now, especially for myself? Sometimes the answer was, go for a walk, put the phone down, drink some water, take a deep breath before responding. Sometimes it was, say no, set a boundary, forgive yourself. You see, the teachings of Buddhism aren't something you master and move on from. They live with you. They breathe with you. And most importantly, they meet you where you are. Not on the mountain, but in the kitchen, in traffic, in an argument, in the quiet moments where no one sees you trying. Sarah didn't become a monk. She didn't run away from her life. She simply learned to show up differently, one breath at a time. She let go of needing to control outcomes, and instead chose to do her part and release the rest. She stopped punishing herself for not being perfect, and instead practiced speaking to herself kindly even on the hard days. And slowly, life began to feel softer. Not easier, but clearer. Maybe you're not Sarah, but maybe you've also felt the tight grip of needing life to go a certain way, or the exhaustion of carrying burdens that no one else sees. Maybe you've also wondered, what if peace isn't something I chase, but something I choose right here in the middle of it all? If that resonates with you, then let this be your invitation. Not to fix everything, not to escape, but to begin living the teachings, not just reading them. Start with 5 minutes of stillness. Ask yourself, am I acting from love or fear? Pause before reacting. Be kind to others, yes, but especially to yourself. These small sacred moments, they matter more than you know. Because enlightenment doesn't arrive enlightening. It whispers. It grows. It waits for you in the most ordinary places. And the beautiful truth is, you don't have to be anyone else or anywhere else to begin. You're already on the path. Just keep walking. Do your best and let go. That's not giving up. That's growing wise. That's learning to live with both hands open. That's the practice. That's the path. And it's already yours. Ending segment. You don't need to memorize Buddhist scriptures to live with wisdom. You don't need to meditate for hours in silence to find peace. Because Buddhism is not something you learn once and store away. It's something you live in each breath, in every small decision. It's a practice not of perfection, but of presence. Every single day, life gives you a new chance to begin again. Not with grand declarations, but with gentle choices. You can let go just a little more of the grudge you've been holding, of the worry that tightens your chest, of the old story that says, "I'm not enough." You can trust just a little more. Trust that even the most painful chapters are teaching you something, that your path is unfolding even when you don't see the next step, that maybe you don't need all the answers right now. And in that letting go and that trusting, something beautiful begins to happen. The mind softens, the heart opens, and the noise that once seemed deafening begins to fade. You stop fighting with the moment. You start resting in it. And that's where true peace lives. Not in some faraway temple, not at the end of your goals, but here, right here, in the pause between your thoughts, in the quiet courage it takes to say, "I choose peace today." You don't need to change everything overnight. Just a little more awareness, a little more compassion, a little more space between reaction and response. This is the real practice. This is the path. And the beauty of it? You can start again right now. So, if you've been hard on yourself lately, if the weight of the past still clings to your shoulders, take this as a reminder. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to begin again. And you are already right now on the path. You don't need to do it alone. Every time you choose to be gentle with yourself, you make it easier for someone else to do the same. And that is how healing spreads. Quietly, softly, powerfully. Maybe that's the real teaching. So, let me ask you, what is one small thing you can let go of today? If someone comes to mind while you're listening, someone who's been carrying too much, maybe this is the sign they need. Feel free to pass it on.